They say Tuscany wasn't built in a day. But I'll tell you this. Give me a stack of old terracotta pots, some weathered wood, and a quiet afternoon, and I'll show you how to bring the soul of Italy right into your own backyard. Welcome to Senior Green Thumbs, where age is an advantage, and every crack, stain, and story finds a place in the garden. Today, we're not just planting, we're repurposing, reclaiming, and reviving the rustic charm of an Italian countryside, one recycled treasure at a time. You don't need sprawling land or expensive pieces to capture timeless beauty. All you need is heart, hands, and an eye for what others overlook. That broken chair, a future plant stand. That rusted gate, a perfect trellis. This is a garden built on memory and imagination. In this video, I'll take you through every corner of this rustic retreat, from the scent of fresh basil in an old tin bucket to the sound of water trickling through a salvaged fountain. Every detail tells a story, and every piece, no matter how forgotten, has a place. So roll up your sleeves. We're about to turn trash into Tuscany. Project 1, the power of terracotta pots. If there's one symbol that captures the soul of an Italian garden, it's the humble terracotta pot. Sun-baked, time-worn, and beautifully imperfect. These aren't just containers. They're characters in the story. Old terracotta holds warmth like a memory. It weathers with grace, its surface softens, its edges chip, and every mark only adds to its charm. Don't toss the cracked ones. Patch them, stack them, or let herbs spill from their broken sides like wild poetry. You can find these pots everywhere, from old garden sheds to flea markets, and the more worn, the better. Don't be afraid to use mismatched sizes, shapes, or even colors. Cluster them in odd numbers, layer them on old crates or shelves, and let their age speak louder than polish ever could. And here's a secret. New terracotta can be aged. Soak it in buttermilk, rub it with soil, leave it out in the rain. Nature will do the rest. Terracotta breathes. It roots the garden in warmth, history, and earth. And in a rustic space, it reminds us that beauty often comes not from what's new, but from what's been loved long enough to tell a story. Project 2. Rustic walls and textures. A rustic garden is never flat. It's layered, with walls that crumble a little, textures that catch the light, and surfaces that feel like they've stood for generations. These aren't walls built for perfection. They're built for character. An old stone boundary, a faded stucco corner, a patch of exposed brick. They don't just hold space, they hold time. Recycled materials shine here. Broken plaster, reclaimed wood, even cracked cement blocks can be transformed. Stack uneven stone for a raised bed. Lean a salvaged shutter against a fence. Hang clay tiles or iron tools like they were always meant to be there. Let ivy and vines soften the edges. Let moss take over the cracks. These walls shouldn't be pristine. They should feel like they belong to the earth around them. Texture is everything. It invites the eye to linger, the hand to reach out. Rough wood beside smooth clay, pebbled ground against soft foliage. Every contrast makes the garden feel more alive. Because in a rustic garden, the walls don't just frame the space, they deepen it. They remind us that beauty often shows up where age and nature meet. Project 3. Fountains and water. Features. There's a reason every old Italian garden seems to have the sound of water nearby. It's not just tradition, it's therapy. A soft trickle, a slow splash. It calms the mind and cools the air, especially on long summer days. In a rustic garden, water features aren't bold statements. They're quiet companions. You won't find grand marble fountains or polished pumps here. Instead, you'll see an old stone trough tucked under an olive tree, a chipped terracotta urn repurposed to hold a gentle spring, even a cracked bird bath leaning slightly, collecting rain and reflecting the sky. And here's the beauty of it. You don't need to spend much at all. That forgotten ceramic pot in the shed? Drill a hole, drop in a solar pump, and suddenly you've got your own bubbling fountain. A salvaged sink from a farmhouse renovation? Add pebbles, surround it with rosemary, and let it collect dew and delight. Water features also create movement. They bring bees in for a sip, birds in for a bath, and butterflies just passing through. They catch the light, shift the shadows, and draw the eye, even from across the garden. Surround them with softness, trailing thyme, mossy stones, a bench nearby. Let the sound of water blend with the breeze through the leaves. In a rustic space, it's less about what it looks like and more about how it makes you feel. Because in the end, it's not just water, it's presence, it's stillness. It's the kind of quiet that seeps into your bones and makes you want to stay just a little longer. Project 4. Stone paths and meandering walkways. There's something magical about a stone path. It doesn't just lead you through a garden, it slows you down, invites you to wander, to notice. And when that path is built from pieces with history, reclaimed brick, broken tile, old stepping stones, it becomes more than just a walkway. It becomes a journey. In Italian rustic design, paths are never too straight. They meander just like life. A curve here, a pause there, maybe a pot of thyme tucked along the edge, or a worn bench waiting in a patch of shade. You don't need perfect pavers or matching stones. In fact, the charm lies in the mismatched, the uneven, the well-worn. Salvage old bricks from a demolition site. Gather chipped tiles from a renovation. Even cracked concrete can be laid with intention. Let moss grow between the stones. Let time spill across the edges. These are the things that soften the hard lines and bring the path to life. Because in a rustic garden, the walk is just as important as the destination. Project 5. Warm color palettes. In a rustic Italian garden, color doesn't shout, it glows. It's the warmth of sun-baked walls, the soft blush of faded petals, the quiet harmony of earth, clay, and olive leaves. This palette comes from the land itself. Terracotta reds, ochre yellows, dusty greens, and the soft gray of old stone. It's not polished or perfect. It's lived in, sun-touched, and naturally aged. When you're building a recycled garden, these tones are your best friend. An old shutter painted in Tuscan gold, a salvaged bench with peeling sage paint, or even a rusty watering can. Each brings a layer of warmth. Each tells a quiet story. Don't aim for uniformity. Let colors weather in their own way. Let sun and rain do their part. That faded wood or rusted metal, that's character, not flaw. Even flowers play their part. Lavender, marigold, dusty pink roses. Choose plants that complement, not compete. Let the garden feel like it was born from the soil, not placed on top of it. In a rustic space, color is never forced. It's remembered like an old postcard left out in the sun. Project 6. Climbing plants and vines. Climbing plants are the storytellers of a rustic garden. They weave through fences, climb weathered walls, and drape over trellises, bringing movement, shade, and softness to every corner. Think of the graceful wisteria, heavy with fragrant blooms, or the tenacious grapevine, its twisted stems telling tales of seasons past. Clematis, jasmine, ivy, they all have a place here, each adding texture and life in their own unique way. What makes climbing plants so special is their ability to transform. A bare wall becomes a canvas of green. A simple fence turns into a fragrant tunnel. And when you use recycled supports, old ladders, rusted gates, broken shutters, you add even more character. These vines don't demand perfection. They grow wild, sometimes unruly, but always with a kind of elegant abandon. Let them spill over pots, twist around poles, and fill empty spaces. Their flowers and leaves bring color, fragrance, and a touch of mystery. Climbing plants are also a gardener's best friend for small spaces. They grow upward, saving precious ground, while creating a cool, shaded retreat beneath their boughs. In a rustic garden, vines are more than plants, they're living art. They tell the story of patience, growth, and nature's gentle persistence. Project 7. Vintage Garden Furniture. In a rustic garden, the furniture isn't just for sitting, it's for slowing down. It's where you rest your tea, your hands, or your thoughts after a morning in the soil. Look for pieces with history: a wrought iron chair with peeling paint, a wooden bench weathered by rain, a table with legs that don't quite match. These aren't flaws, they're features. You don't need a full matching set. In fact, it's better if you don't. Mix iron with wood, stone with fabric. Let the garden furniture feel collected over time, not bought in a day. Most of what you need can be found secondhand, or even on the curb. An old door becomes a tabletop. A broken ladder turns into shelves for potted herbs. Rusted metal gets a second life with a little brushwork and care. Add softness with what you already have: a faded cushion, a linen cloth, a wool throw in the cooler months. These touches don't just make the space cozy, they make it yours. Because in a rustic garden, every chair has a story, and every quiet corner is an invitation to pause. Project 8. Fragrance and Texture. In a rustic garden, fragrance and texture work hand in hand to create an immersive experience. They invite you to pause, breathe deeply, and truly connect with the space around you. Scented herbs like rosemary, lavender, and thyme fill the air with soothing aromas. Climbing jasmine and honeysuckle add sweet, heady notes that drift through the garden on warm afternoons. Even crushed leaves of certain plants release bursts of fresh, earthy scent. Texture is just as important. Think rough terracotta pots, weathered wood, soft moss, and the varied leaves of herbs and shrubs, from the silvery fuzz of sage to the glossy shine of olive leaves. Combining scent and texture creates layers that engage your senses beyond sight. Running your fingers over a vine's twisting stem or brushing past fragrant blooms makes the garden feel alive and tactile. When you're building a rustic garden from recycled materials, this sensory approach helps breathe life into old pieces, transforming them from forgotten objects into treasured parts of your sanctuary. In the end, it's these little moments, the smell of fresh herbs, the feel of rough stone under your fingertips, that make a rustic garden more than just a space. They make it home. Project 9. Herb Gardens and Edible Beauty. No Italian rustic garden is complete without herbs. They're the heartbeat of the space. Fragrant, practical, and deeply rooted in tradition. Basil, rosemary, thyme, sage, each one a gift from the earth, a seasoning for your meals and a balm for the soul. Herbs grow beautifully in recycled containers: old wooden crates, chipped terracotta pots, even forgotten tin cans. Their rugged homes only add to their charm. And when you cluster them together, you create not just a garden, but a sensory experience. There's something special about walking through a garden where every breath carries a hint of fresh oregano or lavender. These plants invite you to touch, to taste, to remember. And because they're so hardy, they thrive in small spaces, perfect for those of us working with limited room. Edible beauty is the essence here. Imagine a rustic table set with fresh herbs snipped straight from your garden, tossed into salads, or steeped into tea. It's sustainable, it's practical, and it connects you back to the earth. Plant your herbs where you can reach them easily, near the kitchen door, along a sunny path, or in a cozy nook. And don't forget the flowers that attract pollinators. A rustic garden is alive, buzzing, and always giving back. This is gardening with purpose and poetry, where every plant feeds the senses, and every meal carries the flavor of the garden. Project 10. Weathered garden accents. The beauty of a rustic garden lies not just in the plants, but in the accents, those weathered treasures that carry stories and character. Rusted tools, chipped pots, faded signs, and old wheelbarrows. All these pieces add depth and history to your garden. Don't rush to replace worn items. Instead, celebrate their imperfections. A cracked watering can becomes a planter. A faded wooden crate holds a burst of blooms. Those rusty hinges and peeling paint? They speak of time's passage, lending authenticity that no brand new decoration ever could. These accents create layers, textures that invite you to touch, look closer, and imagine the hands that used them long ago. Whether it's a broken rake repurposed as a trellis or a faded ladder leaning against a wall, each piece is a chapter in your garden's story. Collecting weathered accents is a treasure hunt. Check flea markets, yard sales, or even your own garage. Often, the most unexpected objects become your garden's focal points. In the end, these well-loved pieces remind us that beauty isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing the passage of time and the memories it leaves behind. Project 11. Cozy nooks for rest and reflection. A rustic garden isn't just a place to grow plants, it's a sanctuary for the soul. Cozy nooks, tucked away beneath vines or nestled in corners, invite you to slow down, breathe deeply, and simply be. These little retreats can be as simple as a weathered bench under a trellis, a hammock strung between two olive trees, or a small stone seat surrounded by fragrant herbs. There are spaces where time seems to stretch and worries fade. Use recycled materials here too. An old door becomes a seat back, an antique chest turns into a side table, and cushions made from worn fabrics add softness and warmth. The goal is comfort without fuss, charm without clutter. Position these nooks where the light plays gently, morning sun filtering through leaves, or soft twilight glow from lanterns. Add a small table for your tea or gardening books, and maybe a weathered throw to wrap around your shoulders on cool evenings. In a garden like this, these spaces aren't just for rest. They're for reflection, connection, and quiet joy. They remind us why we garden in the first place. Project 12. Seasonal planting. A rustic garden is alive with the changing seasons. It's not static or staged. It grows, shifts, and blooms in rhythm with the year. Seasonal planting is the secret to keeping your garden feeling fresh and full of life all year round. Spring brings bursts of color, pale pink almond blossoms, wild tulips, and fresh green shoots. Summer invites vibrant blooms like sunflowers, lavender, and bright marigolds. Autumn slows the pace, with the warm hues of dried grasses, rust-colored leaves, and late-blooming chrysanthemums. Winter offers quiet beauty in evergreens, hardy herbs, and the textured bark of aged trees. When working with recycled and repurposed garden elements, think of your plants as partners. Rotate your herbs in terracotta pots, change out seasonal flowers in old wooden crates, and layer beds with composted leaves and garden trimmings. Seasonal planting also allows you to experiment. Try interplanting edibles with ornamentals, mix fragrant herbs with wildflowers, or let ground covers softly fill spaces between stones. These transitions create a garden that feels spontaneous and natural, not forced. Embrace the cycle of growth, rest, and renewal, because in a rustic garden, every season has its own kind of beauty, a different story to tell. Project 13. Elevation and terracing. Elevation and terracing are timeless techniques that bring depth and dimension to a rustic garden. They turn even the smallest or most uneven spaces into a layered, dynamic landscape. In Italy, terraced gardens climb hillsides with stone walls, creating pockets of lush growth that catch the sun in different ways. These terraces not only maximize space, but also create cozy, intimate garden rooms. You don't need a hillside to bring this feeling home. Use reclaimed stone, bricks, or wood to build low retaining walls or raised beds. Each level can hold different plants, herbs on one, flowers on another, a small vegetable patch tucked into a sunny corner. Elevation also helps with drainage and creates natural pathways for your eyes to wander. A set of weathered steps, an old ladder leaning against a wall, or stacked pots arranged like a staircase all add vertical interest. With recycled materials, this becomes a creative project, transforming discarded stone, bricks, or timber into something beautiful and functional. It's about embracing imperfection and crafting charm from what's on hand. In the end, elevation and terracing invite you to explore your garden, to discover new views, and to feel the space unfold like a story told in layers. Project 14. Lighting the rustic way. As the sun sets, lighting becomes the heart of a rustic garden's magic. It's not about bright, harsh bulbs, but the gentle glow of lanterns, candles, and string lights that dance with the evening breeze. Think old-fashioned lanterns hung from tree branches or shepherd's hooks, repurposed jars with candles inside, flickering softly on weathered tables, solar fairy lights woven through climbing vines, each casting warm pools of light that invite lingering and conversation. Incorporating recycled materials here is simple and beautiful. Glass bottles can become lantern covers. Rusted metal fixtures can be transformed into candle holders. Even old tin cans, punched with holes, create charming patterns of light and shadow. Lighting doesn't just illuminate paths or seating areas, it creates atmosphere. It turns your garden into a peaceful retreat, where shadows play and every corner holds a quiet secret. And remember, in a rustic garden, less is more. Soft, subtle, and natural. The light should feel like it's part of the garden itself. Project 15. Personal touches. What truly brings a rustic garden to life are the personal touches, the small, meaningful details that reflect your story and style. Maybe it's a hand-painted sign salvaged from a flea market, a collection of vintage pots with your favorite plants, or a garden journal resting on a weathered bench. These elements make the garden yours, turning it from a space into a sanctuary. Personal touches can be recycled treasures, a worn basket for gathering herbs, an old wheelbarrow turned planter, or family heirloom tools displayed with pride. Each item carries memories and personality. Don't be afraid to mix styles or add unexpected items. A colorful mosaic stepping stone, a quirky sculpture made from found objects, or even a patchwork quilt draped over a chair adds warmth and charm. These details invite visitors in and encourage you to connect deeply with your garden every day. They remind you that gardening is not just about plants, it's about creating a space filled with love, creativity, and meaning. How to maintain the look. Maintaining a rustic garden isn't about perfection. It's about balance. It's the gentle care that keeps the garden feeling alive without stripping away its natural charm. Regular pruning, light weeding, and seasonal cleanups help plants thrive and prevent overgrowth. But don't be afraid to let some areas grow wild. This is part of the rustic appeal. Use recycled tools and simple techniques. An old pair of pruning shears, a handmade compost bin, and natural mulches like fallen leaves or straw keep your garden sustainable and connected to the earth. Remember, the beauty of a rustic garden is in its lived-in feel. A few weathered leaves, some uneven edges, or a little moss on the stone path aren't flaws. They're character. With light maintenance, you ensure your garden remains a peaceful retreat, a space that welcomes you home each day with its timeless beauty. As we've seen, creating an Italian rustic garden is less about following strict rules and more about embracing a way of life, a celebration of nature, history, and personal expression. Through stone paths, terracotta pots, climbing vines, and weathered accents. This style invites us to slow down, appreciate the beauty and imperfection, and find peace in our own green spaces. By using recycled materials and simple, sustainable methods, you can bring this timeless charm into your home, no matter how small your garden may be. Remember, it's the personal touches and gentle care that make a rustic garden truly alive. Whether it's the scent of fresh herbs, the soft glow of lanterns at dusk, or a quiet nook to reflect, your garden becomes a living story. Thank you for joining Senior Green Thumbs today. May your garden grow with beauty, character, and love, season after season. If you enjoyed this journey into rustic Italian garden style, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a Senior Green Thumbs update. Share your own recycled garden projects or ideas in the comments. We love seeing how you bring charm and sustainability to your outdoor spaces. And remember, every garden grows better when nurtured with patience and passion. Happy gardening, everyone!